Hey there, everyone. After an ugly loss to the rival Dolphins, we figured maybe the Bills need a little motivation. And that's what we're looking for in this one today, because the team's got to get back on track. Welcome to the Buffalo End Zone Podcast, everyone. I'm Kevin Carroll.
We are proudly presented by Toyota. I am Andy Young. We figured, hey, let's take a break from the X's and O's. We got plenty of time to talk about the Bills and the Bucks, what happened against the Dolphins, wide receivers, all that sort of stuff. We've got a special guest today, a Buffalo native. You might know him as Johnny B. Bad, or Marvelous Marc Mero, or the Wild Man Marc Mero. Marc Mero, the Buffalo native, former professional wrestler with WCW and WWF at the time, joins us now. He's a motivational speaker, inspirational speaker now. And Mark, we are really glad to have you join us.
Guys, it is a pleasure to be on your show, especially coming from my hometown of Buffalo.
Excellent, excellent. Take us through, Mark, your early beginnings in Buffalo. I know you were born here and grew up at first on the north side. What was life like for you as a kid growing up in Buffalo?
Well, you know, Buffalo, living over on the north side was really nice. I went to public school 86 and 66 over there. And then my parents got divorced. And unfortunately, we had to move over to the west side of Buffalo on Pennsylvania Avenue. And I don't know if you guys remember, but back in the, the 60s and 70s, they had the projects over there. It was a really dangerous area. And unfortunately, it really was a scary time in our country. It was also the assassination of Martin Luther King, so there was a lot of riots, a lot of turmoil, and it was just a dangerous place to live. It was scary. I mean, we didn't like to go outside of our own home, but it also, built a toughness in me. I got into hockey first and played hockey for, I played all the way up to my juniors. But we eventually, for high school, I moved to Syracuse, New York, and played football for Liverpool High School, played hockey for Liverpool High School, and then I played for the Syracuse Stars. But then I found my true passion in boxing. I got really involved in boxing, where I started touring and won the New York State Golden Gloves year after year. I won the gold medal in the Empire State Games. And then I moved to Colorado Springs, Colorado with the USA boxing team. So I was very successful in sports much of my life. And I was getting ready I decided the Olympics were boycotted in 1980, and I was there in 1981. So it was 3 more years before the Olympics. And I decided to turn professional in boxing instead of trying to wait and make the team again. I decided to turn professional, and I had my first professional boxing match scheduled in New York. And guys, I've never trained harder for anything in my entire life. I mean, I ran more miles, did more wind sprints. And 2 weeks before my first professional boxing match, I had my nose shattered in an accident. I needed reconstructive surgery. And that time off was when, it was the first time in my life I had all this free time in my hands. I was playing 3 sports and always getting ready for the next sport and training. And the first time having free time, I just started hanging out with the wrong people and got involved in drugs. 10 years of drug addiction. So my life just spun out of control. And it wasn't until I was 30 years old. I had a bunch of friends over my apartment. We're flipping through the TV channels, and one of my buddies landed on professional wrestling. I go, whoa, stop it there. Let me see this. As I'm looking at the television, knowing I'm a good athlete, I go, hey, guys, I can do that. My buddies busted out laughing. They go, Mark, are you crazy? Look at the size of those guys. They'll pick you up over their head and throw you right out of that ring. I said, no, I'm being serious. I can do that. My other buddy goes, who are still my buddies today, goes, Mark, what are you going to do? Start a pro career? You're 30 years old. And I just said those 2 words. I share these 2 words everywhere I go. I believe. You have no idea the power we give ourselves when we believe in us.
I said that was going to be my question, Mark. I'm like, 30 years old seems old to get into anything, let alone a sport where you're basically going to get the crap knocked out of you every now and then,
Well, remember, I said I could do this at 30, but then I had to go to wrestling school. I never even signed a contract till I was 31 years old with WCW. And that's when my career really started, at 31 years old. And, like I said, I boxed, I played hockey, I played football. I have never been in anything as physically demanding as professional wrestling. Now, people say, well, Mark, isn't wrestling fake? I go, yeah, but gravity is real. Right?
Yeah, those
So,
bumps hurt, right? No matter if you intend to do it or not.
Coming in the style I chose to do, coming off the top rope and doing flips and moonsaults and all these crazy things, it takes its toll on your body. I barely ever got hurt in any other sport. And in wrestling, I think I've had 14 surgeries now, total reconstruction of my knees, elbow surgery, shoulder surgery. I've had everything, reconnected.
Mark, I found it interesting, too, that you got a little bit of a late start in pro wrestling, kind of like one of your close friends and rivals in WCW at the time in Diamond Dallas Page. Can you talk a little bit about that and get into it kind of at the same time?
That son of a gun lives right down the street from me.
Yeah, DDP, baby.
We are not only great friends, we are so competitive. We have these silly push-up contests we do. We do, like workouts. We try to outdo each other. Who could do more sit-ups? You name it. And I tell you something, we're gonna end up killing ourselves because it was good when you're younger, but now that we're getting older, it's a little bit more difficult. But he's a great guy. He's such, we both found a passion after wrestling, and unfortunately, in many sports, when the lights dim and the season's over and the career's over, a lot of guys can't relate to it, or they miss that limelight or that adrenaline rush that you get from being in sports. And luckily, Diamond Dallas Page and myself both found something we honestly love to do. Our passion for helping other people is second to none. And he's a great guy. And, Dallas and I, there's 3 guys I probably wrestled, oh my gosh, between 150 and 200 times each, because remember, we did this for 14 years in 2 different companies. The 3 guys are Stone Cold Steve Austin, who I fought for the U.S. title. I beat him when I won the Intercontinental title in the tournament. And let's see, Triple H is the other guy. And the third guy is Diamond Dallas Page. And we tour the country together. We open more pay-per-views against each other. Now, a lot of people just see Nitro or Monday Night Raw. And they think, oh, gosh, the guys wrestle once a week. No, we wrestle every day. And what's so hard about people don't realize about professional wrestling is like I'll give you an example. Like this, when they have the Super Bowl, the Super Bowl's over with. Those guys are off for months, And when our Super Bowl is like WrestleMania. Well, the next night we're at Monday Night Raw. The season just continues, So you never get that rest. But the funny story about Diamond Dallas Page is that he never, we have writers for our shows, that write storylines down the road and everything. And Dallas never got to beat me. And it was like our personal joke, where he's like, one more match and I'm going to go over.
Yeah. It seemed like you guys battled on every pay-per-view in WCW for a time there. Like I go back and watch them now, big wrestling fan since I was a kid. I look back on YouTube or on the network or Peacock and I'm like, man, they wrestled every night, it seems like.
Yeah. And what's so fun about it is that when Dallas and I knew, like, we were opening the show, we always said to each other, let's steal the show, man. Let's have the best match possible. And we would put everything into it. We worked so hard together. And we, because we're such great friends, we really respect each other and the moves that we do to each other. We were very careful, obviously never to hurt each other. I mean, it's a dance, and it's like if you got a good dance partner, you're going to be okay.
Mark, I'm a child of the 80s, so I grew up right when the Hulk Hogan, Iron Sheik, Andre the Giant, the first WrestleMania started. As wrestling went on and grew, was there a tough time after those big names hit for wrestling in general as the sport expanded and these other leagues showed up? Because I remember WWF, and there was one other league with the Von Erichs in it.
Yeah, WCCW.
And I think that's all we had. Was there a time where it was tougher as far as being a wrestler until it picked up again?
Well, I was really blessed to be in probably the most outstanding time to be a professional wrestler. It was the Attitude Era when we had the Monday Night Wars. I mean, people would turn back and forth between WCW and WWE on their TV channel. And, when I think about when I wrestled, and I look back now and I'm in the locker room, there's The Undertaker, there's Triple H, there's Shawn Michaels, there's Stone Cold Steve Austin, there's The Rock, It's just incredible, the people that I got to wrestle against. I even got to wrestle against Ric Flair, So it's just an incredible journey that I wrestled every single one of these top guys. numerous times. And so I look at my career as like, I never really had experienced that because I was really blessed to be in the business when it was skyrocket, and it was a lot of fun to be in that. And some of the top names that ever came out of wrestling were the guys that I was with back then.
Yeah.
Mark, want to throw it back to the early 90s when you first broke in, and how Dusty Rhodes and I think Magnum TA helped give you the gimmick of Johnny B. Bad because you looked a little bit like Little Richard. Like when they first proposed that to you, what was that like?
Brother, it was the biggest shock. If I could tell you the real quick funny story was that, when I wanted to get into wrestling, I would drive. They had the TV tapings in Atlanta, and I was living in Florida. So I would drive the 8 or 9 hours to hopefully get picked for television. Now, when you get picked for television, you get the crap beat out of you by these guys. You're just a job guy, and you get paid $150, which is barely enough gas money to get there and back, And I remember they put me in against, at the time, the World Tag Team Champions was Doom, Ron Simmons and Butch Reed. And they were two big, tough guys, And I kind of messed up the end of the match. And there was a little bit of an argument between me and Butch Reed back then. And so then next thing I know, they said, Dusty needs to see you in his office. And I thought, man, there goes my opportunity of ever making it back here, I remember walking into Dusty's office, and I just started apologizing. I go, hey, Dusty, listen, I'm really sorry about the end of that match. I didn't realize that. He goes, oh, I don't care about that. He goes, kid, anybody ever tell you, you look like Little Richard? And I thought to myself, I thought he was talking about a wrestler. So I go, man, I never heard of Little Richard. He goes, you don't know Little Richard? I go, oh, you mean the singer, Little Richard? Oh, yeah, I know who that is. He goes, did anybody ever tell you you look just like him? And I thought, no one's ever told me that. He goes, I think I got a gimmick for you. And that's how Johnny B. Bad was born. But I got to tell you guys, the most exciting time of my wrestling career was not only having Dusty Rhodes as my mentor, but he would get to the arenas early and work with me on how to walk and talk like this character that he envisioned Johnny B. Bad, He'd say things like, I want you to go look at the crowd and go, I'm a bad man, or, I'm so outrageous, it's contagious, So we'd have all these funny lines, but I would watch Dusty do it before me. And dude, I'm a fighter from New York, man. I'm laughing at this guy who's got this Southern way about him, the kind of effeminate mannerisms, going, I'm so pretty, I should have been born a little girl, I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to do this, But we would laugh so hard that I remember sometimes we'd laugh so hard, he'd just come over and give me a big hug, it was just some amazing memories I have with the Dream, and that's how Johnny B. Bad was born.
And to get a gimmick over like that, and to be able to take that and make people first boo you right as a heel, and then cheer for you after that. I mean, I think of like The Undertaker, like guys who take these outrageous, larger than life gimmicks and then make people like them. How hard is that to do?
Well, the whole thing was the easy part for me to start with because I'm a heel. I want people to hate me. So I'm coming out there. I got the kiss that don't miss. After I knocked the guy out, I'm putting a kiss on his cheek. A stick on red lips. And I'm shooting a bad blaster. I'm dancing with Teddy Long. It's like just to piss people off more and more. Then it started switching where people started to go, I hate that guy, but watch this entrance or watch this, watch his moves. And then as I started learning and really adding to my repertoire as far as doing my own moves and coming up, I was doing, the crazy stuff I would do off the top rope, probably one of the best sunset flips in wrestling back then, and then learning how to do a shooting star press and the Mero salt and moves that I invented, and I got them as a kid diving off a diving board, just a crazy kid that would do flips off a diving board. And I go, well, let me bring this into the wrestling world.
Yeah. Let's throw it back to growing up in Buffalo and upstate New York and Syracuse in the 60s and 70s. What was your recollections of the Buffalo Bills and what they were then?
Oh, man, I got to tell you guys, if there's not a diehard Bills fan, they even have an anchor bar here in Kennesaw that I go to watch the game sometimes,
That's
if
awesome.
They're not on my regular television, I'll go to make sure I'll be able to see every Bills game. The earliest recollection I ever had growing up in Buffalo, New York was, I'll never forget, just being a little kid coming into the living room, watching my dad screaming at the television. We had this black and white television back then, and my dad's just yelling at that TV. And I'm like, I'd say, Mom, why is Dad yelling at the TV? And she goes, oh, his Bills are on today. And then as I got older, obviously I'd sit there and watch the game with my dad. And, as a kid, you don't really understand why they're throwing flags or what this is. And I would say, Dad, why is this? And he'd say, just watch the game. He's like so into it, And then obviously watching it with me as I got older. And then, and not only that, guys, this is what's so crazy about the Buffalo Bills. When my parents got divorced when I was around 8 years old, and my dad moved out of the house and he moved into a apartment complex called the Boulevard Towers. I believe that was in Amherst or Williamsville, somewhere right around there. But anyways, O.J. Simpson just became a rookie on the Buffalo Bills. I think it was 1969. And he lived right next door to my dad. His apartment was next door to my dad. So my dad became very good friends with O.J. Simpson. I mean, they see each other and in the hallway or whatever, and they became friends. So my dad told me, hey, I got 3 kids, and OJ said, let me get him some balls for him, and so he got all 3 of us kids. He had the whole team sign the football back then. Even Jack Kemp was on there. Jack Kemp, who ran for, I think he ran for president at one time, and he signed the ball. He was a quarterback back then, and O.J. Simpson signed it real big across it. To this day, I still have that ball. From the whole team that signed it. But OJ, so meeting O.J. Simpson when I was a kid, he had that really deep voice. I mean, as a kid, it's even amplified, just bigger than life, looking up at that big guy, and then watching him on TV and calling him my friend. There's my friend, O.J. Simpson.
Super cool.
That's fantastic. Obviously, growing up through the 70s, we're coming off that loss to the Dolphins. There was that span where the Bills just couldn't beat the Dolphins. Then eventually they did in the early 80s. Do you still view the Dolphins as the Bills' biggest rival? I know the younger generation kind of switched to the hatred of the Patriots, but it seems to me guys like us still remember that big rivalry that even moved on when Jim Kelly and Dan Marino came in.
Absolutely. What's so amazing about, obviously, I was living in Buffalo during their 4 Super Bowl losses too, unfortunately. And I became friends with Jim Kelly's brother, Kevin Kelly, who was we became really good friends. And we would go over to their home and watch the game. So I seen, Jim Kelly, he moved into Orchard Park and built his own. We'd go to his house and we would watch his game, and he'd have his mom there and the family there, And one of the, I don't know if I should tell this story, but I guess
do it.
It's so long ago, it's okay to share now. Well, anyways, Jim Kelly's mom, she would be watching the game from upstairs. We'd be downstairs, and her mother was on oxygen, where she had the oxygen strap around her, kind of blowing it into her nose. Mm-hmm. She was, older and ill. And the tube would be going down the stairs. And I remember when I was so excited about the Bills, I started running up the stairs, and I got my foot caught in her oxygen tank and pulled her right out of her head.
Oh, my God. So,
God forbid, I almost killed Jim Kelly's mom. But she was okay. I'm teasing.
Yeah.
But it's just a memory that was like, uh-oh. Anyways, so we watched the games from Jim's home or Kevin's family's home. And it was just, obviously it was the toughest thing to go through, those 4 Super Bowl losses. And, we keep doing, could this be the year? Could this be the year? And, more so than ever, I really had a feeling like this was going to be just an amazing year this year. Maybe they could even, lose maybe 1 or 2 games, and the teams that beat us this year, they shouldn't be on the field with us. And that's what really is hard. And I got to tell you, what really being an inspirational speaker, you really learn how to read people. And one of the things I see on Josh Allen's face is he takes so much pain on himself. Like he doesn't blame anybody. He's not pointing the fingers. He's like, I screwed up, man. As good as he is, and think about the run where he fumbled. I mean, who would ever think he could run that far with 3 guys hanging on him?
Yeah. He's just trying to make a play. Yeah.
And then getting the ball knocked out, which doesn't usually happen. he just takes a lot of that on himself. And I really believe that we are going to beat the Bucks handily next week. We don't. I just think that it's stews inside of Josh, and I just think that he's going to come out and get back to the Josh Allen that we all know and love, and he's going to do an amazing. I think we're going to beat them pretty. That's my feeling. I don't see us losing 2 games in a row very often,
right?
And especially, we always play better against the better teams.
Well, I was going to bring that up, Mark. Quick question from me. A lot of people said that sometimes the Bills play down to their competition, obviously up when they're playing the Chiefs. Maybe they kind of sleptwalk going down to Miami. As a motivational speaker, how do you address that with a team that might be in position right now that they bring their A game when they're playing an A game opponent, and they kind of play down a little bit when they're playing a team that everyone says they should kick the crap out of?
Well, one of the things I like that the Miami coach said at halftime, I think they were up 16-0 or something like that, if I remember correctly, was he said that, it's 0-0 right now. In other words, we're not going to underestimate the Bills. And I think sometimes the Bills do play down to the level, and because the worst games they've had are to teams that shouldn't even be on the field with them. Really, that I just thought the Bills would blow them out. And Miami has been blown out by other teams that are not even nearly the caliber that the Buffalo Bills are. What concerns me is the run defense. We seem to have trouble with that. And as good as Bosa's playing, we're just not stopping the run like we should. And I don't see Josh throwing the long ball. I don't know if it's that we don't have the right receiver for the long ball right now or what it is. But you remember we had Diggs. We can always go long. We always had that threat of going long. And I don't see it as much right now. And that concerns me. But what if I was in the locker room and I had to do a pep talk to the Buffalo Bills, I'd say, guys, this is something we're going to look back on life and say, why didn't we work harder? Do not underestimate this team. This is coming in with the Bucks. The Bucks is a great team. They got a great quarterback. They got a great team. They got a great defense. We've got to go in there and give it our all. I don't want to look back on life and say, why didn't we try harder? Why didn't we work harder? And why did we underestimate them?
We got to have this guy on more often. He knows more than we do. Awesome, Mark. Great stuff. Throwing it back to wrestling a little bit, what was it like for you? You mentioned it a little off the top of being around for those Monday Night Wars and really the rise of the Attitude Era and one of the hottest times that has ever been in the wrestling business, and you were front and center for that.
What was it like? Is that what you're...
Yeah. What was that like to be a part of that and see that storm coming on as it really rose?
Well, you know what's really weird about that question was that when you're doing it, you don't realize how great it is until you look back on it, because it's just part of The Rock was nobody really famous or anything like that. Not like he is now, obviously, he's just one of the guys. And what's so amazing about The Rock was, when he first started, his first match ever was a Survivor Series. I was the captain of the team. It was me, The Rock, Barry Windham, and Jake the Snake Roberts. And it was Survivor Series. So his first match was with me on our team, against Triple H. Let's see, who was the other guys? Goldust, and who else was on there? But anyways, he ended up winning that. But The Rock would always come before the matches and say, "Hey, Mark, let's say a prayer together. Just make sure no one gets hurt." I always thought that was pretty cool about him, that he had that faith and that that kind of looking to a higher to God for comfort and protection.
As your wrestling career kind of came to a close, you went through some public things that were very difficult. Your divorce and difficulties coming out of wrestling. Why have you chosen to be so open about some of those things after wrestling was kind of on the tail end of its run for you?
That's a great question. I lived the most incredible life. I am so blessed. I went from, from hitting rock bottom, and then I found out that rock bottom had a basement. It was just the worst time of my life, going through not only the divorce, but I lost my mother died at 58. My little brother died. He was only 21. He died 2 weeks later. And then the divorce, and just like the perfect storm in life. And then the drugs came back and the alcohol and just spinning out of control. And, if it wasn't for me, I tell you guys, to be totally honest, I just got down on my knees and asked God to help me. I went through my money. I went through not only with the divorce, but just stupidity, gambling and drugs and making horrible financial decisions and flying to Vegas with all my buddies and just doing stupid things, and next thing you know, I'm out of money. I'm out of, and I thought I was out of time. In other words, I didn't want to be here no more. It was just, you go from this well-known person wrestling to this guy that just wanted to end it. And it was that day that I got down on my knees and I just asked God to help me. And next thing you know, it just felt this peace over me. And I thought, well, I got to get a job. And it was really strange because what was I going to do? I've always been an athlete my whole life, and I got a job at Gold's Gym. I was a personal trainer at Gold's Gym. Mm-hmm. And I remember people walking in the Gold's Gym going, Marc Mero? I go, yeah. What the hell are you doing here? I said, I work here, and it was just so humbling, but it was just the beginning of this amazing comeback. And then I got a call from Melbourne High School football coach. And he said, hey, can you come speak to our players, before the season starts? And it was August 23rd, 2007. I'll never forget it because I talked to the players and I remember how inspired they were. They were like writing me letters on Facebook saying, that was really cool, man. So unbeknownst to me, that coach called another school and that coach said, well, why don't we have him speak to the whole school? And it just snowballed. Then some of my videos went viral and I started averaging 230 events a year.
Wow.
It's been, and now I'm on my 19th year presenting at schools, churches, corporations all over the world. I even spoke at schools in Russia, Guatemala, the UK. It's been an amazing, amazing run. It's just, I don't know. I couldn't be happier than how my life turned out. And that's why I share with people because man, there's no greater joy than helping another person. And now getting letters every day on someone who tells you, you changed my life, you saved my life. I went and told my mom I loved her or something that I talk about in my speeches that have helped other people. So I also often tell people, don't feel sorry for me, man. Everything that happened, and I tell people today, your current trial is going to be your future testimony. And that's how my life was, is that everything I went through is now just a testimony.
When you speak to high school athletes specifically, how much do you think it helps them relate to you that you were a high school hockey player and a state champion football player and a Golden Gloves boxer and then obviously the wrestling career on top of that? But how much does that help in getting your message across to these kids?
I think it's tremendous. I think kids really, what's so great about it now is that because of social media, a lot of kids know when I'm coming to someone's school, they may know who I am or they Google me and they watch old matches or they see the things that I've done. So the response to me at schools is absolutely incredible. Guys, I'm 65 years old. If someone told me I'd be speaking to middle and high school kids at 65, I'd say, you are absolutely crazy, but I love it, man. I love the adrenaline rush. What's so cool, guys, is we talked about the adrenaline rush earlier, is that I still get to go out there and entertain people. And God forbid nobody's hit me over the head with a chair. That's the best.
Your book, Bad to Good, The Ultimate Underdog Tale of Triumph Over Tragedy. I actually picked up the book last weekend and started reading through it, knowing that you were coming on. I'm just really impressed by your message and kind of overcoming these things. What is your message when you go on these inspirational speaking tours?
Well, we all go through storms in life. Every one of us, some storms you could just walk through them. Some storms you got to run through. But there are storms that come in our life that we have to hold on with everything we got. And I tell people, don't let go. Don't give up. Because after every storm, man, the sun will eventually shine. It's going to be brighter than you could ever imagine. Surround yourself with positive people. There are so many negative people out there. People are going to tell you why you can't do something. And, and I talk to, like when I go to corporate presentations, I speak to adults that may have had dreams that lie dormant inside because they never want to take the chance to go after a dream, And I tell people, man, you are never too old to do anything you truly want to do in your life. If it's really meant to be, it's going to happen. And I give examples. I became a professional wrestler at 31. I became an inspirational speaker at 47. I wrote my first book at 50. I became an ordained minister at 52. I mean, these things, and now I just look at my life. The rest of my life will be the best of my life, because you have to have positive affirmations in your life. So many times we get overwhelmed by negativity. And then it's like the old saying of there's two wolves that live inside of you. There's a positive wolf and the negative wolf. And which one becomes the strongest? It's the one you feed the most. Feed that positive wolf with positive self-affirmations.
Excellent.
I love this. Yeah. I mean, I love what you're saying there. When I reached 40, I ran the Boston Marathon at 41, and then started playing hockey again, which I hadn't played hockey since I was 18 years old. And now I play with guys that range from 17 years old to, I think the oldest guy is like 68, and we play hockey every Saturday morning. And it was something that I didn't want to do, but the kid inside me wanted to go back and do this stuff. So I love your message right there, because I've gone through points where it's like, just do it. Just go out and do it,
Amen. I started, my hockey career started at the town of Tonawanda outdoor rinks.
Oh,
you talking about Buffalo snow and freezing? Oh my gosh.
We play in Amherst at the Olympic rink over there. So it's a little bit nicer these days.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mark, couple of rapid fire ones for you. Who was your favorite opponent to work with in the ring?
I got to give you I got to give you four guys, okay? My favorite, let me give you my favorite match ever, okay, was Fall Brawl against Flying Brian. My favorite three guys to work with would be DDP, Triple H, and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
And then who was somebody in the ring that beat you up the worst?
Ooh, good question. Yes.
What's so funny, why I laugh about that question, is because we're actually really good friends. And I love what he does outside the ring, is Bradshaw.
Oh yeah.
John Layfield, yes. He used to just take liberties, man. He was kind of a bully back then. He was not. We didn't get along very good, and we actually fought each other in the brawl for all. You know, so we didn't have a lot of liking for each other, but now it's water under the bridge. He's a great guy, and I can't. At the wrestling conventions or that I go to for signing autographs or whatever, I can't wait to see him again. And so I have no animosity, no bitterness, no resentment, or a complete forgiveness for anyone that may have wronged me before.
Yeah, the brawl for all. What was that like when they proposed that? You being a former champion boxer, I mean, what was that like when they take real fist fighting into worked pro wrestling?
It was the stupidest thing they've ever done.
Yeah.
Okay. More guys not only lost their career, but so many guys. I'm one of the only guys that never got hurt, because with boxing background, no one could really hit me. They could only take me down, for like wrestling, but which never hurt me, So it was never anything where I ever got hurt, and we got paid. I think it was a $5 or $10 grand extra every match, on top of our big salaries we were making. So it was just easy money. But I fought twice and then lost the split decision to. In fact, when I fought Bradshaw, we went there was 3 rounds, and they came to a draw. So we had to put the gloves back on and go one more round.
I remember that, yeah.
Yes, and I thought I won, but they gave it. But anyways, it doesn't even matter. It's over, but it was a really bad decision because it ruined the careers of Dr. Death Steve Williams, and it ruined the career of Bart Gunn.
Yeah, I'll never forget Bart Gunn goes through that tournament, and then he faces Butterbean at WrestleMania, and it's like, oh, man, just got knocked out cold.
Yeah. Well, there you go with a guy that could punch like that. It's because that was no takedown in that one. That was just a strictly boxing, and so that's something. I felt bad for Bart. He's a great guy.
How about favorite Bills player of all time?
Favorite Bills player of all time? Wow, that's a great question. Well, of all time, I mean, I love Josh Allen because he's so humble, man. He's just a good person. And but if you have to go back in history on the Bills, I like Jim Kelly, man. I like Thurman Thomas. I mean, they had a great team back then. Bruce Smith, man, one of the greatest defensive. I played defensive end in high school, so looking at Bruce Smith, one of the all-time sack leaders, he was one of the one of the greatest.
What game in the history of you being a Bills fan is one that sticks out to you the most? I'm going to guess it's one of the Super Bowl. I don't want to say wide right because we really shouldn't say that on here. But positive game. What positive game sticks out to you?
Okay, I was actually at this game in Miami when Bills were getting whooped, and they came back in the last couple minutes and beat the Miami Dolphins in Miami. Was one of the greatest comebacks and games that I've ever seen. And I was there live, so it was so exciting, man.
And how do you follow the Bills while your wrestling career is growing?
I mean, with the Bills, I mean, obviously with the internet, it's the greatest thing. You can catch up on everything that they're doing. But like I said, now if I can't get them on, like this week, I went to, my brother lives over near Lake Lanier. He's on Lake Lanier, and so he gets the NFL thing, so we can watch any game we want. So I go over his place and watch it, or I go to the Anchor Bar, which is from Buffalo, and they're all Bills fans. So the fun thing about going to the Anchor Bar is everyone is a Bills fan. I mean, people have uniforms on. I mean, we show them that. I mean, these people are, the funny thing about Bills fans is they're crazy. Now, think about this. Wrestling, we go through tables, right? What other team adapted that except the Buffalo Bills? They go through damn tables.
Right. Fantastic.
So, I don't know, just the greatest fans in the world, really. I mean, when we hear that from all different cities, but Bills fan, if you looked at that Miami game, it looked like there was more Bills fans than there was Miami fans at the stadium.
Are you at all concerned about this team moving forward with the Patriots up on them at this point?
Well, the good news is that we get to play the Patriots again, and that game may really decide who's going to be the divisional winner. If Buffalo really gets on a little winning streak right now, but yeah, more concerned than I was at the beginning. When they beat the Ravens, I thought that was everything they needed to just say, you know what, that was close, but we are going to kick butt now. And unfortunately, they did good for 4-0, and then the first loss was really kind of surprising, and then them losing to. I'm here in Atlanta, so obviously I'm around a lot of Falcons fans.
I was going to say, were you at the Anchor Bar for the Atlanta game?
It doesn't matter. The Anchor Bar is Bills fans. They don't let nobody else in. Okay. No, there's always that person that wears the Falcons. But Bills fans are pretty kind. They're not they don't hurt people, man. Like some places that. They just want to cheer for their Bills.
Yep.
That was really disappointing. That game really, they just couldn't get it going, and it's similar to the Miami game. They just couldn't get nothing going. I mean, when I remember the first drive of the game in Miami, when they had 4th and 1, I'm thinking, you know what? Set the tone, man. Just go for it. But they're not, like, they never missed a 1 yard tush push. They never did. And now it seems like they're getting stuffed a lot more. And I don't know why that's happening. I don't know if the teams are just onto them more or whatever. But 1 yard, I mean, geez, if worst case scenario, give the ball to Cook, he's going to get you a yard at least, Right. So I was a little disappointed that they didn't go for that, even though it would have been horrible if they didn't make it. But it would set the tone for the game that say, we're here to win, man.
Mark, last one for you before we let you go. This has been awesome. What would it mean to Bills Mafia and to Bills fans in general, the city of Buffalo, if this club ever gets over the hump and wins that Super Bowl?
Oh, man, I'll tell you something. The city is there's such unity in Buffalo, when you go anywhere, like I wear my Bills, I got Bills jacket and Bills t-shirts and stuff. So I wear that a lot, and I'll be going through the airport and someone go Bills,
Yeah.
So, it's a camaraderie we have coming from Buffalo. I don't know. It's just anyone that ever says, oh, you're from Buffalo. When people hear that about Marc Mero, that he's from, born and raised in Buffalo. You remember the old Millard Fillmore Hospital that they tore down? They imploded. That's where I came from. Of course, before they imploded it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Before we go, just want to give you a chance, Mark, to kind of plug what you're up to, your book and your tours and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, obviously touring all over the country for the schools, and that's my passion, man. In life they say you find your calling. That's my calling, is speaking at schools. And my website is thinkpoz, which is POZ, thinkpoz.org, and you can go there and see all the information on me, and also my first book, How to Be the Bad to Good, which there you go, Bad to Good, and is a book that I was really proud of and that came out really good. But I share some of my most honest stories I've never shared with anybody before. And I thought I would just lay it on the line and say, this is me, drug addict, dealing drugs, and then making the amazing comeback in life. And that if I can do it, I'm nothing special, man. I just, work hard and not give up. And if I could instill that in someone else to get off drugs and make something of their life, surround yourself with positive people, love your families, man. There's no promises of tomorrow, but guys, we have today, and today is going to be a great day.
Certainly a fantastic message. This has been a blast. As a lifelong pro wrestling fan, this has been awesome.
Thanks so much, Mark. Thanks for joining us. Come back again.
We had a
blast having you on. Thank you very much.
Favorite podcast, guys. Talking to my boys from Buffalo, I would definitely love to come back.
Awesome. Great stuff.
Thank you. And Andy and I will be back later in the week with a preview of the Bills Buccaneers coming up. Mark, thanks again. Everyone out there, thanks for tuning in.